am I delusional, or am I really willing to do what it takes to achieve my dream? We don't see the work behind the work. He's known all over the world. Where did he start? If you're committed to your vision, you tell me that you want this. If you're committed, I can help you. If you're interested, nobody can. So today we are talking about the dangerous combination that will absolutely destroy your manifestation. Now, there were a couple of things I listened to recently, and it really got me thinking how, as much of a positive thinker as I am, and as much of a proponent, teacher, student of the law of attraction and manifestation, there are some pitfalls to it, because I do see people that will come in to the space and they kind of want the easy way out. They want to be able to say, I created my vision board, I do my visualizations, I meditate all day, I'm really clear on what I want, I know what I want, I can picture it, and their life's not changing. Their life's not changing. And I'll tell you, one of the dangerous things, when I help people step into their vision, what they are drawn to, what excites them, what brings that life force in them. And when they start to learn the possibilities that are available in their life, they start to dream big and dream really big. And what'll happen is they have this big vision and this big ambition. And unless they have this other key piece, they're not going to make movement anywhere. And I'll give you an example. I've been on obviously lots of masterminds, lots of trainings, lots of programs, and I'll hear people, go around the room and they'll say, okay, what's your dream? What's your goal? What's your vision? And I'm in spaces where there's a mixed group of people, some very successful people and some unsuccessful people. And I'll watch the people that are unsuccessful, that have not been able to secure a job, or have not been able to start a business, or haven't followed through on anything throughout their life, because you learn a little bit about their history. And they'll have these lofty goals. I want to make $500 million, and really the sky's the limit for all of us. But the dangerous combination is when you have a lazy, ambitious person. You have someone with really big dreams, with really lofty goals, but they want to sit back and let the world just give it to them. And unfortunately, things don't work that way. I heard someone say recently, you can't pray to catch the bus and then stroll down the street. You got to pray to catch the bus and run as fast as you can, because then if you miss the bus, it's not your bus. But if you don't run, that could have been your bus. And if you don't pray, that could have been your bus. And if you do miss the bus, then it wasn't your bus. Rejection is God's protection. It wasn't your bus. And there's something else there for you, but you'll never know unless you run. And I'll beg to argue that if you don't run, you don't believe it's your bus. And even if it is, you really don't want it to be your bus, because you're very content and very comfortable to sit back and just let life happen to you. So you may have the words, you may have the vocabulary, you may have watched all the TikToks and the secret and all the videos that say you can have anything you want. You might have even been here. I don't think anyone here feels that way, but I do want to share this because we've all been there, right? We've all had something that we wanted, but we haven't been willing to risk working for. So I think this does apply to all of us, as much as some of us might think, oh, we got it. I know how to manifest. I know how to work hard. I got it, Trez. I would say we've all been guilty of that. But it's really about committing to the process, believing in ourselves, and being willing to take a risk, to grow, to take action, to work our tushes off sometimes. And I'll tell you, I tend to attract very successful people. And I get excited because I know they're going to take the action that I lay out for them. We work on strategy. We work on releasing limiting beliefs. We work on thinking a certain way. We work on doing things a new way, breaking through their old limitations. And I love working with them, not because they're successful, and just because of that, but because I know they've been able to commit to a goal and they've taken action to get to a certain level. And that's where the challenge is for a lot of people. You know, there's this 80-20 rule, like 20% of people are more successful than the other 80% combined. And actually, I would say there's a bigger gap than that. Something like, I think there's only, was it 5%? The last time I heard, 5% or 3% of people make six figures, and we're talking United States numbers, which honestly, especially if you're living in California, isn't that much. And so, but those are the people that are willing to do the work, willing to commit to a game long enough. We're willing to pray for that bus and start running. They're committed. They want it. They know they deserve it. And they're willing to do whatever it takes versus sitting back and dreaming, versus sitting back and hoping and praying and wishing. I think there's that song, wishing and hoping and praying. That never really gets anyone anywhere. And so when I see people in this space, law of attraction, the secret, they want to sit back and say, oh, I'm manifesting things. And they think positive. They're very positive people, but I would call them more delusional. And not to put anyone down and not to crush anyone's dreams or goals, because I would never say this to another person, but I think it's valuable to ask ourselves that question. Am I delusional? Or am I really willing to do what it takes to achieve my dream? Because that's where you get that up and down. That's where you get the, I'm so excited, but I'm still broke. Oh, but yeah, I see the $1 million, I see the $1 million, but I'm falling further and further in the hole. Oh, I'm not going to think about the bills, and I'm not going to think about my debt, and I'm not going to think about, the fact that I have no money. I just see the $1 million and I see the wealth, and I'm going to go out and spend money I don't have. That's what keeps people stuck. That's what keeps people stuck. So it's important, while meditating and visualizing and clarifying our goals and aligning with our intentions, and all of the positive mindset is very important. It's not enough to bring about meaningful change in your life. Action is a catalyst for change. I tell people too, pray and move your feet. Prayer alone is not going to do anything. And moving your feet, who knows where you'll end up. Let's do both together. So we want to take consistent and purposeful action that will move you closer to your desired outcome. It will propel you on your journey to any success that you want towards your personal, professional growth. And being willing to, again, taking action builds the momentum, and momentum creates results. I talk to my clients all the time, and I'm like, work begets more work. When you're working, you're going to get more work. And so you may want to be a world-class speaker, but don't wait for the big break to speak. Don't wait for your big stage. I may picture, a stadium of thousands and thousands of people, and it looks really great in my head. And I can't wait till I'm this world, speaker, and standing ovations everywhere. And I can see it and I can clear it, but I haven't spoken to anybody. When you say it out loud, it kind of seems silly. It seems silly. So if you want to be a speaker, speak. Speak in front of the mirror. Speak to your kids' classroom. Speak to the local church. Speak to the neighbors. Speak to your family. Gather your friends and say, hey, I want to teach you about goal setting, or I want to teach you about creating a vision, or I want to teach you about, I don't know, pottery making. If you want to be a speaker, speak. If you want to coach. If you want to help people with their nutrition, help people with their nutrition. We're always looking for that permission, that space, that stage where someone says, okay, here you go. And it never happens that way. It never happens that way. One of my mentors, and I've trained with him, for quite a while, Dr. Joe Dispenza, you might have heard of him. He's a great speaker. And we look at someone like that and we think, or like A-list actors and actresses, right? We don't see the work behind the work. He's known all over the world. Where did he start? These actors and actresses that are known all over the world, where do they start? See, what we don't see is it takes 20 years to create that overnight success. We don't see the 20 years. Sometimes it takes 40 years to create that overnight success. And what we're focused on is that overnight success. So we're waiting for someone to just give us what we think we want. I want this thriving business. Well, I'm sitting there waiting for someone to give me the business. I opened up my bakery shop. Why isn't anyone coming in to buy my cupcakes? If I want a bakery, I want to make cupcakes. I'm going to make cupcakes and I'm going to give it to anyone and everyone. I'm going to post pictures everywhere and anywhere I can. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to take action. And when you do that, you emanate an energy that says, I'm open for business. I'm an actor. I'm a coach. I'm a baker. I'm whatever. I'm a nutrition therapist. And guess what? When you're doing the work begets more work. You will become a magnet to more of that type of work. That's the momentum. That momentum creates results. So taking action creates momentum. It's essential for building that and generating results. The next action is compounded. Eventually, we get to propel forward. Without action, your intentions remain stagnant and your goals just remain out of reach. It just becomes a lofty thing out in the future. But when you're taking action, it may take a lot of effort, kind of like that boulder, right? It takes a lot of effort to move an inch, and then a lot of effort to move that next inch. And then maybe we'll push 2 inches and then 4 inches. And all of a sudden that boulder starts rolling and all we need to do is just push it with our finger. That's momentum. That's the quantum leap. I love this scene from Indiana Jones, where if you remember that movie, if you're as old as I was, classic, love it, where he has to cross a ravine. So he's on this side of a cliff and way over there is another cliff and there's this big massive ravine and he even drops a rock and you never hear it hitting the ground. So there's like a long, dark cavern there. But the myth is that if he takes one step, the path, the bridge will appear. And so hesitatingly, he takes one step and lo and behold, he lands on the bridge. And then he takes, but it's still empty after that. So he takes another step and lo and behold, there's, platform under him. And then he takes another step and another step. And all of a sudden he's trusting that he's making movement and the bridge underneath him is forming under him. So now he's like, he just starts running to the other end. And with each step, the bridge just starts to form underneath his feet. That's momentum. That's a quantum leap. It's like we take 1 step, 2 steps. Now we get to go to step 7, step 15, step 50, step 100. Even think about the changes right now. It took us so long to make one technological advance throughout history. And then now, the rate of technology and advancement in AI is exponential. So it may have doubled every certain number of years, and then it doubled every certain months, and then it doubled every certain days, and now it's doubling probably every minute or so. I don't know the exact numbers. I did hear someone talking about that, so I would love to get those exact statistics. But that's the momentum. That's the momentum. So again, we can't sit back and hope and wish and pray and say, and be delusional. Well, I've done everything. Have you really done everything? We know a lot of information. I remember, and I shared this before, I wanted to get in shape and get healthy. And I was addicted to YouTube and I was watching all of these great shows about how to burn fat and how to build muscle and how to eat healthy and how to food prep and all this stuff and you know, eating, getting your fruits and vegetables and balancing your life. And I'm sitting there watching YouTube thinking I'm making progress. It's like I felt good. I had that dopamine rush that made me feel like, okay, I'm getting healthy. I'm getting healthy because I'm sitting on my tush and I'm watching YouTube about how people get healthy. And there was a part of me that was very delusional, thinking I was getting healthy. And then I realized unless I get up and do something different, nothing changes. And we do that to ourselves all the time. We lie to ourselves. And so I'm not here to call anyone lazy, but ambition and laziness are not a good mix. We have to be willing to do the work. And often it's hard work. Other people can't do your push-ups for you. If you want to build the muscles, you've got to do it. And so when you look at the law of attraction, you look at manifestation, there is work involved. There is work involved, but it's joyous work. And so couple things I want to leave you with is number one, start to get really honest with yourself. If there's something you desire, but it's not in your life, get really honest with yourself. Where are you not committing to your goals? Where are you not dedicated? And it's okay if you know what, I don't really want it that bad. I mean, I look in the mirror and I love my body. I think I'm sexy as heck. Just kidding. But I mean, I am. you know, I feel comfortable in my skin. And so am I where I want to be? Not yet. Is it a drive that's strong enough for me? At some point, I imagine it will. I have other dreams that I want to focus on. So I'm honest with myself versus lying to myself and saying, I'm going to, build, I'm going to get down to 7% body fat and get down, to 110 pounds in 2 months and fail after 4 hours. Because lying to ourselves is actually worse than being honest with ourselves and say, okay, this is not priority for me. It's not priority for me. I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to focus elsewhere. So number one is being really truthful with yourself is absolutely important. And number two is look at where you're failing in your commitments to yourself. And if you've had a history of failing in your commitments to yourself, start small. Start small. Start to make a commitment as simple as I'm going to make my bed every morning. I'm going to drink a full liter of water every single morning. I'm going to sit and meditate for 5 minutes in the evening. And when you commit to yourself, make sure you follow through. So make that commitment that says, come hell or high water, I'm drinking that thing of water, or I'm making my bed. And when you can start to trust yourself that you're going to follow through on something you told yourself you did, your subconscious starts to back you up. Because when we lie to ourselves, it's not just about making the bed or drinking the water or whatever it is. It's when we lie to ourselves, we lose respect for ourselves. And you cannot create when you lose respect for yourself. Imagine someone lied to you. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be there at 5 and they come at 6. Or, oh, I'll meet you for coffee, at 11 and they call you at 11 and flake. Imagine, oh, I'm going to, come over to the potluck and I'll bring the main dish and they show up empty-handed. What happens after a while? You stop trusting in them. You don't ask them for anything. You don't depend on them. And you already know, what, they're not going to follow through. They're not going to follow through. So forget them, right? You don't consider them in your plans anymore. You don't help them out. You don't support them. You're not part of anything that they want to create. You lose that trust and respect in them. Same thing with yourself. If I say I'm going to wake up at 6 o'clock every morning and 6 o'clock rolls around and I press the snooze button, I've just lost a little respect for myself. So then when I say I'm going to reach $1 million this year, my subconscious is like, yeah, right. You can't even wake up at 6 o'clock. How are you going to get to $1 million? And my subconscious is the thing that's going to drive me to take the action, to do the things, to draw in the resources that's going to get me to $1 million. So if I lost respect because I couldn't get up at 6 or I couldn't make my bed when I told myself I would, then you're not going to get to that $1 million. There's no way, because your subconscious drives 99% of your life. So you have to build that trust in yourself. You have to build that trust in yourself. You have to combine the ambition and the vision with the commitment and the dedication to work. And I always tell my clients, well, before they become clients, I mean, I interview my clients and I only work with people that are committed to following through, because I'm not looking for clients. My bills are paid. I'm good. I'm looking for success stories. I want people who are actually going to be successful. And so I tell them, if you're committed to your vision, you tell me that you want this. If you're committed, I can help you. If you're interested, nobody can. What's the difference? If you're committed, you're willing to do whatever it takes. And if you're interested, I'll do it until I'm tired, until I don't feel like it, until something better comes along, until I'm on my period, or I have a bad day, or there's a full moon, or the Mercury's retrograde, or whatever it is. I'll do it as long as it's convenient. But as soon as life gets in the way, I'm good. I'm good. So we want to marry ambition, manifestation with action and commitment, because there's nothing worse than a lazy, ambitious person. So I want to open up now to any questions, comments. If you have anything you would like me to help you with or work through with you, this is your chance. And again, if you're watching on Facebook, come into the Zoom room. This is where I answer questions and help you to live a much bigger life, which I believe all of us deserve. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and share.
Hi, Trez.
How are you?
Great to
I'm
see you.
here. Good to see you too. So yeah, I was telling you last time that the time management part it's a big issue for me. You know, I have two kids, and even though I try to do a calendar, and I'm trying harder right now, and I do have times where I just dedicate to like my business and to take phone calls and stuff like that. I feel that there is always like distractions or little things that break that schedule that I was initially thinking I'm going to follow. And especially like in the afternoons when the kids are home, it's a lot harder to do more work. So yeah, that was my question. Like that's still like a challenge for me, the time management part.
Yeah, I love it. I know we talked briefly. Were you able to write down kind of what your day is like actual time for a full day?
I try, but I feel that every day it's different. Like let's just, for example, today I'm trying to get some services for my kids, and so I'm in the middle of work and I don't know when I'm gonna get these calls, right? So I get it right in the middle, and it's also important because there are things that are important with the kids that I need to take care of. So if I'm in the middle of something and I get a phone call, I need to stop. And I know like it's a good exercise to block or like to have all calls on silence when we're working. But since I'm a mom, I feel that it's hard, you know, to just put it on silence because these phone calls that I will be getting are gonna be important.
Yeah. No, what I mean is we talked just about a week or two ago about writing down where your time's actually going. So like, you know, so not time blocking. I know that's another discussion we had, but writing down, you know, having a paper that has everything from the time you wake up to the time, you know, you go to bed, 15-minute increments, and have that with you all, you know, throughout the day. And you just write down every 15 minutes, what are you doing? So 8 o'clock, you know, making breakfast, 8:15, phone call, 8:30, like an actual log. Like if I was following you around, I'm writing down what you're doing at that time. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's the first thing, is so then you could look at it and see where your time's going.
Yeah, because I noticed too, like sometimes, even though I feel I'm not doing much, I'm doing a lot. That's the other part. And I'm starting, like I was listening to what you were talking right now, and I do feel that right now is paying off. I'm getting a little bit more business in, and I'm seeing results. It's just that it took, it just went very slow.
Well, and it's always going to be slow, right? What's going to separate the winners from the losers are the ones that stay in the game. Because most people will quit. Where you're at, most people will quit. And where you're going to be a year from now, most people will quit. And so that the small percentage on the top is the ones that never quit. So yeah, I would say that first step is actually take a log of where your time is going right now. Because thinking about your day is different from actually looking at your day. Because then you can look and say, wow, I didn't spend any time on this, or I spent so much time here, or I wasted a lot of time here, or wow, I really don't have time with the kids. So that's number one, is taking a log, because awareness is key. Awareness is always the first step. Before you make any change, you have to know where you're at right now. So taking that log is going to be really important. Kind of like GPS, right? If I want to go to Vegas, I got to put a starting, luckily Siri or Google knows exactly where you're starting at, right? But before, we used to have to put our starting location and then our destination. So we have to look at where we're starting. Number two, so I'm going to give you three things I want you to think about. Number one is take that log, know where you're at right now. Number two is, Samantha, you are a mommy, and your kids, your family come first. And it is impossible to run the world when you're trying to run a household. So I think giving yourself a lot more credit for the job that you have, which is a full-time job, and understand that, when the kids are here, the kids are around, that's where my focus has to be. And to forgive yourself for not being able to be, this Wonder Woman mom that spins around 3 times and the house is clean and the dinner's made and the kids are fed and showered and in bed and homework done. It's not possible. So give yourself that grace and that space to know that, okay, I'm doing an incredible job, and this is a big job. So that's number two. And number three, I'll tell you, time is not logical. We think time is very linear and logical. Time is emotional. And so we tend to spend the time on things that are important to us or that are pulling at us because we can't say no. So we want to look at, what are those things that are a priority for me? And setting time aside for those things that are priority for me. And when you start to look at that, you'll start to kind of excavate those things that maybe pulled you in a certain direction because of the emotions. I don't want to let somebody down. I want to make them happy. They expect me to do this, or I can't make someone mad, or it's just all that emotional stuff. And so really starting to unravel, what's important to you, and are you spending time on the things that are important to you? So I would say start with those three things. And when you get those three, then we can take that to the next level, because there's a lot more to be said about, you've got kids, and I'll tell you, setting them up for success, setting your husband up for success, really creating systems around the house, requires that CEO hat, and starting to have, things more streamlined, which number one will help everyone become more independent. Your kids will just be, joy to be around, and will be so helpful, and will learn so much. My son was in Montessori when he was like 2 years old, and he was, they had him, what do you call it? Cracking eggs, boiled eggs. He was peeling, it'd take forever. He was peeling boiled eggs. He was pouring himself from a glass pitcher. They taught him how to pour water and orange juice. They taught him how to fold clothes, how to hang. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And when I remember when we first moved to our house and I was single, it would take a lot initially to teach him to be more self-sufficient. But boy, did it pay off. It did pay off, because there was a time where I had 2 jobs, working on my master's and raising an infant to a toddler to a young man on my own. And so I know the struggles of being a parent, and I know the challenges, and I know the pulls. And it's a matter of being willing to put in the energy now for the long-term rewards. And that's where the emotional component comes. That's when you want to look at, okay, what's my ultimate, because it's always easier to do things for other people because I'm just in a hurry, versus, I want to create something sustainable here. I want to build a functioning household. I want to teach responsibility. I want to create freedom for myself. And there's certain boundaries that we need to put down. So do you have my book, The Modern Woman, Discover Your Inner Sweet, Sexy, Badass Queen?
No, I don't have it.
Need to get it. It's
Okay.
and definitely pay attention to the CEO chapter, because she talks about running, me, but
Yes.
getting into the CEO talks about running a household and setting boundaries and setting things in motion. So I highly suggest you picking up that book. It's on Amazon, and it might open your eyes to some things that we all do as mothers, and we figure it out eventually. But the sooner we get it, the better.
I'll check it out, and definitely I agree with you, because I do that with my kids. I mean, I try to get them to be as independent as they can be. You know what adds up, I think, in my motherhood is that my two kids are special, and that it's a little bit of work.
And yes, all the more reason.
Yes, and as they are, I mean, they are getting there. They're getting independent. They're doing their work. They're learning things.
I'll tell you, I used to be, this, I used to be a special ed teacher, and I was lovingly tough. And what I noticed about my kids is they worked for me, versus when they were in other classrooms, they were just lazy as heck. And what I learned with kids with, autism and also intellectual disability is their disability is they're lazy. And they're brilliant too. They're so smart. I'm like, oh no, I see your game. You're going to sit here and clean up your mess. Versus other teachers would, like, placate them and make excuses and really feed into their disability. And I'm like, no, it took more work for me to teach them every little step, because most kids will pick up steps intuitively. They can get from here to there intuitively, or they learn from other people. But as a teacher, as a parent, with kids with special needs, we have to lay out every single step, and we have to do it over and over again. But it's worth it. And God bless you, you have an incredible job, and they're blessed to have you. They're blessed to have you, because I always see that the success of my students is really dependent on their parents' active participation and teaching, and not playing to their disability, and really enriching their lives by demanding that they step into their power.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell them all the time, like, you can do it. I believe you can. And they're gonna learn. It just takes a little bit more work.
All more work. No, it's take care of you. But again, goes back to step number one, which is be honest. Or is that step number two? I think step number two is be honest. If when the kids are home, nothing else, can't do anything else except the kids, then that's okay. Yeah. Don't try to push too much.
Thank you, Trez.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Any other questions or comments? All righty. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.